All right, a very good morning to you. It's good to see you on this Tuesday morning, and it's actually the last day of the month of February. Every time really flies, so I hope that you've had a good month, and that is the second month of the year. Welcome to the show. My name is Winnie Lubembe, and of course today we have a very important conversation that honestly all of us should be talking about, right? And of course today we'll be focusing on mental health, but then again to a specific group of people, and this is a conversation that we started last week, and this is as far as the Gen Zs, right? And of course majority of the times there's usually this question about who exactly are the Gen Zs. First of all, where did they come from? Because these people is like they're different from all these other generations, all right? And of course we tackled that last week, but today we want to focus on a very important part of the same conversation, and this is as far as mental health, and this is amongst the Gen Zs, because as we all know, they are born, and this is after 1996 to around 2014. Some statistics say 2015, so you know, others say 2012, so it really depends, all right? And of course they have a very difficult different vision, and this is when it comes to the world and their needs, and of course the methods that they significantly shake up the way we see and we think, all right? And this is as far as, you know, these other generations are concerned. So flexibility, digitization, and as well as sharing, these are the keywords that the Gen Zs associate with. And of course they are more accepting, they're very open-minded than any other generation before. So despite all these positive attributes that are associated with Gen Zs, they are actually prone to mental health, right? Just like any other person. And according to statistics, they say Gen Zs are the loneliest generation ever. So the real question is why? What exactly can we attribute this to? Because someone might say, but they have social media, they have access to information more than these other generations. So what exactly is happening amongst the Gen Zs, and what brings about all these issues as far as mental health is concerned? That is what we'll be unpacking on today's conversation. So you want to stick around until the end of the show to understand that and much more. So what exactly do the numbers say? Let's take a look at what the numbers say. And of course, we begin on a global scale where an estimated 10 to 20% of adolescents globally experience mental health conditions yet. Underline the word yet, right? This remain undiagnosed and undertreated, and this is according to the World Health Organization statistics in 2014, right? So then what are some of the most common mental conditions in the country? And this is as far as the young people are concerned. Depression takes the lead, and then we have substance use disorder, bipolar mood disorder, schizophrenia, as well as anxiety. And remember, this is according to the Mental Health Task Force that was formed, all right? And then of course this contributes, continues to say some of the key contributors to adverse mental health conditions amongst the adolescents as well, you know, include absentee parenting. And of course we talked about this last week, where majority of the parents are busy working, you know, they're trying to fend for their family. So absentee parenting is one of the issues that contributes to mental health conditions, experimentation with drugs and other substances of abuse. And last but not least, we have youth unemployment amongst so many other, you know, issues, including violence as well. At the same time, so Kenyan adolescents exposure to severe trauma either as victims or witnesses. And majority of the people, that is a 69% of the young people, said they have witnessed violence either at home or around them, okay? Then 27% have said, you know, there was a case of physical assault by a family member, all right? And then 80%, you know, talked about the question of a sexual assault. So then the big question is what exactly is happening amongst the young people? And this is as far as the Gen Zs are concerned, and what are some of the things that we can attribute to, and especially that question about loneliness, okay? What exactly is happening to groups as far as the Gen Zs are concerned? So that is what we'll be focusing on. And we also have a question for you, which again I'll be asking you in a short while, and this is as far as the Gen Zs are concerned, all right? And of course the big question is what could be attributed to mental health issues, and this is among the Gen Zs. Again, what could be attributed to mental health issues, and this is as far as the Gen Zs are concerned. You know the drill by now, in as much as this is our show, it's also yours, all right? So you get to contribute either via our social media, and that is at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on Twitter. And the hashtag to use is Your World. But at the same time, if you want to call in live, the panel today is actually perfect to answer all your questions as far as mental health is concerned, and especially amongst the Gen Zs, right? So the numbers will be down on your screen in just a second. Give us a call. We have family therapist on board to answer all your questions. But again, at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and Twitter, is how you can contribute. And the question is, what could be attributed to mental health issues, and this is among the Gen Z. So without further ado, let me introduce my guests for today. We have Grace Kariuki. She was here 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. I mean, time flies. That's why it seems like yesterday that you were here. Who's a marriage and family therapist. So good to see you this morning.
Thank you.
Karibu Sana. I really want to get to hear what you have to say as far as the numbers and the statistics, and this is as far as the adolescents are concerned. What do you make of them?
Oh, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
The way I would look at it, I don't know whether we have more because there are more cases, or whether it's because there is more information that now we are aware, and so there is more report. We are trying to understand the lives of our young people. But generally, I would say that those statistics are normal. They are understandable. Even looking at developmentally, when you think about emotional, psychological, and even mental development of that age group, it is normal for them to probably seek a lot of dopamine kind of pleasure. It's normal for them to be in that state where they are looking for pleasure, where they are curious about what is available in life. But also, when you think about it, they have moved from being dependent on parents, and they are now creating their own life. And so that's a transition, and with every transition there will be stressors. There will be feelings of uncertainty. There will be doubts. And unfortunately, I saw one of the reasons why that are given there is parental absenteeism. And so that child, when they are trying to figure out what to do, and there is no adult who is affirming, because most of the time as adults we are telling them what to do, we are not listening to where they are coming from. So when there isn't that kind of empathy and compassion, and we do this thing we do Winnie, where we say watoto wa siku hizi, immediately what we have done, we have dismissed a life that is trying to find a way. And so they are these are the numbers. To me, they are normal, they are on point, but then there are things that we can be able to do. When I look at these statistics about what our young people are experiencing, witnessing violence, 69%.
That's huge.
That's a
really,
huge
really
number.
Huge.
And even the physical assault by a family member. Home is supposed to be safe. Mental health issues among our young people and anybody else, it's about emotional safety. And so when there is a physical assault within the family where I'm supposed to be safe. And even as we are talking, I'm thinking I have a 13-year-old, and I'm thinking about the stress of being in class 8. And now my job as the parent is not to keep putting pressure, and to actually understand that this kid is under stress. And I know how I feel when I'm under stress. Then I can have empathy for him and give him the tools to be. Again, we realize our young people, they don't have the tools to manage the transitions that they are going through. Plus all this, I was saying the other day that myself, I may not have gotten into drugs or alcohol, not because I was better or because my life was better, but it's because I wasn't exposed to it. And so our young people right now, there is so much in their environment, including now social media, and peer pressure is a big one for that age group. We know that they are trying to figure out who am I in the world, and they are trying to get friendships, they are trying to get into relationships. And so when their dopamine levels are low, they are looking for pleasure, they will get into some
Somewhere
trouble.
else. But someone might ask Grace and say, but all these other generations, I'm pretty sure they went through that phase of trying to understand who am I and all those things. So what makes it a little bit different from Gen Zs? But before you answer that, we have Gen Zs
yes, let them answer that.
with us, you know, in the house. And of course, we have Alex Gishingiri, right?
Right.
So thank you so much for coming by today, as well as Charlotte. You know, I was about to say Charlotte, right? Is it Charlotte? Charlotte?
It's Charlotte.
Charlotte, yes. I like that. Charlotte Wangui Gakuo, you know, again, here to really just tell us from your experience, what is it like, first of all, being a Gen Z, and especially when we talk about, you know, cases of mental health. But I want you to react to the statistics. Do you agree, you know, and especially on the contributors to mental health issues amongst you guys?
Yes, when I look at the statistics here, it does make sense, especially the witnessing violence thing. And you find there's a home, let's say the kids, the mom, the dad, let's say the dad is abusive towards the mom and the kids see that. So they will grow up knowing, oh, this is probably what a marriage is supposed to look like, or the girl, if there's a girl child, will be like, oh, maybe this is how a man shows the woman that, you know, I love you, or anything of the sort. And the kid, the son, will grow up knowing, this is what I am supposed to do when I get to that point where I'm getting married and all. So you grow up with a kind of mentality that it is okay for violence to happen in the home. And you come out here and things are so different, but you've grown up knowing, but my dad beat my mom. I mean, I saw it happen, and he used to do it, and it's not just to my mother, even to us. So you grow up with that trauma of violence is sometimes the answer. If not all the time, then it should be, you know, implemented in the home.
Things are done to sort of like stamp authority or to get, you know, establish your position.
Yes.
Man, that's profound and sad at the same time,
Very,
right?
very.
To grow up knowing that this is normal and this is how things are done. Alex, what do you have to say?
I'd say that I do agree with the statistics. In this period of time, it's when Gen Zs are really coming out into themselves, and at the risk of sounding new age, we are really in that expansive period of our life where we are getting to acquire relationships, we are acquiring opportunities, jobs. We are at that phase where we are expanding our lives, and it brings a lot of identity issues. And it might lead to depression, anxiety, and mental health issues. But I also agree with the statistics about witnessing violence. Sometimes it might not even be physical, it might be psychological. You can see, sometimes you even find people that are in families where the parents are not really as kind to each other. And physical assault by family members is also sad.
It really is. It really is. And Grace, listening to this too, clearly we have a lot of work cut out for us, right? And especially when it comes to parents, guardians, teachers, like everybody, you know, around this young people to say, listen, it's not just about us, but it's also us and, you know, this generation who are looking up to you know, these other people. So then what does that say in regards to the previous generations, right? We're looking at the millennials and of course the other generations before in terms of the kind of parents or role models that they are to the Gen Zs, that they find it difficult to even, you know, maneuver and find their space and find their identities and all those things based on what they are saying. Because what, again, Charlotte says is like you grow up knowing violence is a way of life.
Now, one of the things that I have seen that has changed a lot is the community support. So today, if my child does something wrong, she's in trouble or whatever, I am not going to take it very kindly if my neighbor punishes or corrects my child. The whole idea of the village, the child is raised by the village, is no longer realistic in our time. Crime and lack of shame you know that a lot of times shame has a way of creating societal, you know, health. And we, you know, we would need to talk about what are the parameters of that. But because there isn't much shame now, then people do whatever they want to do. We have become more individualistic, even in the way now that we support one another within the community. So the community is not as safe as it used to be. So the parameters of health, whether it is mental health for our children, physical health for our children, is no longer there. Now, in the olden days, even when we didn't have the law as we know it now, you know, we used to have councils. You know, men and women, the idea of the nyumba kumi. So if a father is beating up his wife, then the community would come in around that, and that man would be called, family members would intervene. But these days, we just listen and we just say, how So now there isn't much of communal protection, and so something has shifted, but we have not shifted with it. Now today we are empowering women and men in domestic violence situations to report to the law. Now that is what we are trying to convince people, that it's okay. It's an assault. An assault is a crime. So you are not going against. You are not becoming a snitch or unsupportive to your partner if you report. Because now the children, like Charlotte was saying, Charlotte was saying, not only are you being normalized, but you are also confused as a child. There are 4 things that we need as children, emotional needs of children. Number 1 is safety. Both emotional and physical. Number 2, we need to feel we have control. When you have control, you feel that you can make a mistake and it's not a big deal. You know, that people give you grace and compassion. And then number 3, we need to feel that we are loved and acceptable. And number 4, we need to know that we are competent. So when there is too much chaos within the family, young people are growing up not feeling safe, not only at home, but in the world. Now trauma becomes, and they can be small traumas that build up. Your subconscious, you know, it's keeping every memory that you are experiencing, and it keeps that memory in the form of emotion. So that now when you go out, you are either protecting yourself, you are either sad, you are feeling lonely. And you mentioned about loneliness, and I believe, because I do remember myself growing up and as a firstborn, and because of the thing that I have to be the big child, I really felt very lonely in my family. And so as a teenager, that translates into now when you're going through your identity crisis, you experience more depression and more, because loneliness is about, I don't feel anybody is in my corner. And I think our young people are experiencing that a lot because their terrain is very different than ours, and we don't know how to support them within their terrain. You see.
And Alex, I think, mentioned this, and I think Charlotte as well. And this is in terms of, first of all, trying to find out who you are. And it's like 2 quarters, right? So for you, you did so well in school, but then at some point sort of like dipped. You were struggling to find, you know, identity and self-esteem, and you had like a lot of people-pleasing tendencies. But for Charlotte said, you weren't really, really smart in class, and instead of finding support, it was mostly degrading comments, and this affected you so much. Let's start with you, Alex. When, I mean, going back, when did this all begin? Do you know what, you know, causes, what was it like growing up, and how did that sort of like shape you into who you are today?
I'd say when I was growing up, I had this cousin of mine that lived with us, and he was like a brother to me. And we used to be invincible in the we used to be the people who like bullies and could beat everyone. We used to call ourselves the fast boarders. So but at some point he went back to his family, and he left puny little me. And suddenly, I was no longer the person that I was.
Yeah.
And I realized something changed. Now I don't feel as respected as I was when he was around.
All right.
So I guess that's when I got into trying to find what makes people respected.
All right.
And then it became, what I'm seeing parents respect is good grades.
Okay.
So I hang around people who
Did so
do
well
very well in school.
Yeah.
And then I learn about what they do, and I myself start doing very well. And then as you grow up, you start discovering friends, you start having a lot of friends and such. And now you realize, I'm not as popular because I'm always in books and all. My jokes are not laughed at as
People don't
as
find
much.
you funny.
Yeah, people don't find me as funny.
Okay.
And now the standard becomes funny. So, and then you hang around people that are funny, people that have confidence, and then over time you find that it kind of erodes your sense of self.
True.
Now you don't really
Yeah,
believe
because
in
you
yourself.
wanna please, you wanna fit in
Yeah.
in this different.
So-
yeah.
Yeah, I guess building an identity on what pleases people, which is very rampant, as you can see in the social media age that we live in.
Yes.
There's a lot of pressure
It's crazy.
to be awesome.
Yeah.
And then once you just get to a certain point or start doing something, you realize that there's a 12-year-old who is doing better than you, and you have not even done anything.
Yeah.
So now you have all this anxiety because I'm keeping up with a 12-year-old who started way earlier than me.
Yeah.
I guess there's that's led into a lot of questioning myself and identity issues, which led to my experience with depression.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I hear that. You know, that struggle to find, first of all, find yourself.
Yeah.
And also be accepted, because like you said, you tried several things. And I think when your cousin left is when you felt that void. I don't know, Grace, what you have to say to listening to what Alex says.
Yeah. Again, it's normal. It's very normal for that transition, because again, as a 15-year-old, you are coming out of being a sibling and a child, and now you are trying to find your place in the world. It's very normal. Developmental psychology tells us during adolescence, we are moving away from now being dependent on parents and creating our own world. So there will be processes like what you went through, where you are trying to find yourself. Now the issue of going into depression is an anxiety is again rooted in who am I, that identity crisis, and not having guidance on how to do that. Now there are many ways that we guide our young people to stay away from getting into trouble during that transitional period. And one of those ways is community support, usually through the church, because that's one of the areas where people go in, young people will go in there, and they make their life relevant by connecting with other young people, having the same kind of goals. They are taught morals and stuff like that. So the young people, we know from research, they say they want their freedom, they want to be free to do and to make choices, but they appreciate boundaries. They will fight them, but they feel safer where there are boundaries. Where there are no boundaries and there is no guidance, then they are going to feel like they are floating around. Now, the good thing I want to say to Gen Zs, the good thing is once you identify whatever your problem is, what you need to do is to develop a mindset of growth. And begin to say to yourself, this didn't work, don't go into total depression where you are saying life has no meaning. You haven't tried what will work. Because when you say, I don't like this, you need to figure out, so what do exactly I like instead of this? So you don't get caught in the why, you go into what now.
And it's very interesting because Gen Zs are able to first of all, understand
Yes.
how they feel and also name that feeling. I
Yes.
think majority of us growing up, we really struggled to understand what exactly is
Am I
this
feeling,
and
yes.
and why do I feel this way,
Right.
and even communicating
Yes.
what I feel.
Yes.
These people are very honest about, listen, I am not happy, give me some time.
Yes,
Because my
yes.
younger brother is a Gen Z as well, and
Yes.
one of my friends. So I hear a lot of these conversations,
Right.
where they're able to name what it is that they are feeling. And Charlotte, for you, you said, again, in school and not being really good in school, and most of these comments that you got were not really, really good. Do you want to take us back?
Yes. So when I, like nursery and like the class 1, class 2, class 3, I was a very smart student.
All right.
Very. If I'm not number 1, then I'm number 2. If I'm not number 2, then I'm number 1. Like I was
Okay.
very good in lower primary.
All right.
But I can't pinpoint or tell you what happened at some point. But all of a sudden, I was on the other side of the class list.
Leading
Like,
from-
I used to start from up here, now all of a sudden it's, and you wouldn't even go for it. There I am.
Yeah.
So and there was this pressure of, first of, I'm a firstborn child.
Oof.
I'm a firstborn child. I'm the first grandchild.
Ah, la,
I'm the
la,
first
la,
great
la,
grandchild.
Ah, oui, okay.
Yes. So there's already a sort of standard you're supposed to live
Yes,
up
an
to.
expectation.
Yeah, because the others behind you are looking up to you.
True.
And the parents say, are you seeing what Koi is doing? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm Koi, by the way, for those of you who don't know. But are you seeing how Koi is doing and stuff like that? So I was really focusing so much on trying to be a good person for them, not for myself.
you.
Yeah, not for me.
Okay.
But in class 8, I did quite well in my KCPE. That I will give myself a pat on the back. I did quite well. High school came, oh my goodness. And it was so depressing because you're doing so much, but it's not paying off. And I remember on one of the parental clinics that we had, in high school, when you go to the teacher, so how is my child doing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And one of my teachers, we went to her, said hi, so I was with my mom. And then immediately we sat down. My teacher looked at my mom and told her, look at your daughter. So my mom looked at me like, of course, I mean, this is my child. And the teacher goes, does she look like a student? And I was like, okay. I didn't even say anything. So even my mom was like, what? Yeah, does she look like a student? And it was because of what I was getting in school. Yeah, take a good look at her. Like she was actually she was expecting an answer from my mother. Does she look like a student? And my mom was like, yeah, did you want her to look like a farmer? I mean, she has her uniform and everything, but because I was not doing well in the subject that she was teaching me, I was not a student. You raise up your hand in class, no, let me look for someone else. In Form 3, my class teacher came and he told, okay, you who are at the bottom of the list, stand in front of the class. And we stood there and he told us, now explain to the class why you're a failure. And you have to give an answer. One by one, explain to the class why you're a failure. Okay. Why have you been getting this kind of grades since you came? Like, are the teachers not doing anything? And I would go to the staff, guy, I would put in so much effort, but seeing what these teachers are saying is like, even if I put in effort, they're not going to do anything. Yeah, so it kind of creates a comfort zone of, even if I do so much, it won't pay off.
They won't see it. Yeah.
Exactly, it won't pay off. So you just sit back, you're like, you know what, whatever comes, comes. And it was so bad for me, and I kind of withdrew myself from everyone. I don't know if my classmates noticed, but at some point in Form 4, I was not even talking to people. I come in the morning, I stand outside the class door, I'm like, okay, there's a bunch of people in this class. I know one of them will say good morning. You have to put that face of, everything is okay. So you get in, oh, hi guys, have you guys done the homework? Like it's such a, you put this mask because you don't want people to know how you feel. And since I was very extroverted, I'd get along with so many people. I was the MC for our Talents Day in Form 4. So I was quite out there with teachers, with students, those Form 1s that have come, Form 2s, Form 3s. But it got to a point I could not hold it any longer, and this is towards KCSE. So since Form 1, you've been telling me A, B, C, D, and here KCSE has come.
Just around the corner.
Your family knows you're doing KCSE, so they're like, we are praying for you. We know you will make it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say I was depressed, because I wasn't, but it got to a point where I'm like, you know what, Koi, you need to find who you are, because for so long you're trying to be this person that people want you to be. And I mean that's not me. If school is not my thing, and it's not, you can't, not everything is for everyone. Someone can be a very good actor, it doesn't work for you. This person can be a psychologist, you can't do medicine for all those years, like I don't know how many years, and be called a doctor, I don't know who. So it got to a point I needed to find something that resonates with me. And that is how we have Koi as Gen Z today.
I mean, look at that, look at that. And it is a good thing that you were able to find, you know, that space. And of course, we're gonna take a break, but when we come back, we want to understand, so then, how did you get to that space of finding yourself, and what was that like? Right? Eventually, finally finding out who you are and what resonates with you and where you thrive the most. But of course, Grace, I'd also want to hear from you, listening to her as well. And I think it's more or less the same what Alex was talking about, and that is identity, finding myself and understanding, you know, what are my strengths? What is it that people would appreciate about me? And, you know, growing in that sense. But I also want to know from you guys, what is it like being a Gen Z? And especially now with social media, where everything has to be perfect, you know? You're in Dubai on holiday and all those things. Of course, all that conversation is coming up after the break, but not forgetting the question that we're asking you, and that is, what could be attributed to mental health issues? And this is amongst the Gen Zs. If you are a Gen Z watching us and you know, struggling in one area or the other, again, feel free to also send your concern or your question away our way. And of course, Grace is here to answer all your questions as well. But all that is coming up after the break. Stay with us. This is Your World.
Why do we do it? Hide, cover up, tone down? Choose boldness. Celebrate the skin you're in and dress with confidence with Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Body Lotion. The triple layered care of deep moisture serum, precious cocoa butter and vitamin E enriches your skin for 48 hours. It's time to show off your best skin. Wear your skin with pride every time with Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Body Lotion.
With Glovo, you have anything you want from your city in your hands. Kama unatamani ugali beef ama fried chicken, order Glovo ujaribu restaurant mpya. Tamu. Kama game inawaka na unataka drinks zaidi, order Glovo ushangilie timu yako. Na kama your little one amemess na diaper zimeisha, order Glovo and save the day. With Glovo, unaweza track order yako na kuongea na customer support, which is always available. Download the app and order anything you want from your city. We'll deliver.
Marcelo, where's your witness? We don't have all day.
They'll be here. Well, how do you know that? Maybe your witness changed their mind and decided not to keep lying for you.
Remember he got sick because of too much sadness? Because we couldn't be together?
Oh, Nicole, it's nothing like that.
But Mom, it is. He told me so. And he also said he could get sick again if I don't stay with him. He also told me that you want to be happy with Mickey. But I'm the one who's standing in the way of you being with him.
Do you realize how affected I was by that anonymous letter? And do you know that I haven't even slept a single night since that moment?
The idea came from us both, but it was mostly her idea.
Stop lying, Amaranta. It was your idea.
Every penny that you stole from the company with your scams. Oh, you're going to pay the price, Amaranta.
It had to be you. Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
Candace, what's that?
I brought you a small bonus.
Bonus for what?
You got us 299 family dinners, 64 kisses on the cheek, 12 road trips to see grandma, 42 jokes from daddy, 49 laughs from mommy.
In over 60 years of dealing with numbers, we've learned that the numbers that matter the most to you are the ones that matter the most to us. NCBA Bank. Go for it.
New Stay Soft Adric Concentrate. 1. It is 4 times more concentrated. 2. It is packed with 4 times more fragrance. 3. One bottle gives you 40 washes. New Stay Soft Adric Concentrate.
Also available in convenient sachets.
Own your dream home for as low as 1.98 million Kenya shillings in Vipingo Kilifi. SMS Vipingo to 22365 or call us today on 0740 400 215. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, welcome back. And of course, the conversation continues even during the break. And of course, we're just trying to figure out, parents to the Gen Zs in whether there's a bit of a disconnect, between, because how they were raised and how they're being raised is totally different. And I'm pretty sure you've had this notion that Gen Zs wamebembelezwa, au ni watoto wale, whatever I want, I get, so they don't know how to respond to no, to the answer no, and all those things. So I don't know what you have to say, Grace, to that. But I have like a yes or no and kind of like a question from you two, and then Grace, you'll pick up from what Charlotte was talking about, and then this answer, and that is, are you guys lonely like 90% of the time? Because we, again, like I said, we had started this conversation last week, and the Gen Zs that we had on set said, yes, 90% of the time, we are very lonely. What do you guys say?
Yes.
Yes.
Because, and let me give an example using social media.
Okay.
Almost everyone is on social media right now. And these big people on social media, you see them, they've traveled and they're on a vacation and stuff like that, and you're like, I want this is the kind of life I want. But they don't post the bad side of it. Let's say this person has been in a 4-year relationship, and every time it's, thank you, babe, for the flowers, thank you, babe, for the chocolate. But maybe they are fighting behind closed doors, but they're showing you what they want you to see. So you make it like, gosh, when I start dating, this is the kind of relationship
it's like
that
a fantasy.
Exactly.
Everything is okay, everything is
exactly. You
roses.
create a sort of fantasy in your own head, and when you don't live up to that, then you feel like, okay, what have I been doing all this time? I'm putting in so much effort, but someone the same age as me is doing interviews, is the face of I don't know what, is traveling and all that. Today they're in Dubai, tomorrow they're in South Africa, and me, I'm here. What is it that I'm doing wrong? So you enclose yourself in a sort of, what is it that I am doing that is wrong? I have done all these things, and you probably don't even want to be what you're seeing that person. That person is a musician, and I mean they are doing so well in the field that they are in, but in your mind you probably want to become a pediatrician. What are you doing watching? I mean, comparing yourself to the artist. I mean, go to school, get that degree, become a doctor.
Wisdom,
right? That is wisdom.
Yeah, don't look up to people who are not
in the line
of what exactly.
Okay. I see that. Okay, all right, but 90% of the time,
for sure.
Lonely. Okay, all right, Alex.
What I've seen in my own life is that as much as we have a lot of avenues to connect, we're not really intimate with one another. We're not really connecting. We just have a lot of avenues, but then we find ourselves just sticking to our phones, and then instead of even going out into social situations, and that's how you build your social life, your social skills. It's by actually going out there and meeting other people, connecting with people.
Connecting with people.
Yeah, socializing. But as you can see in a lot of what you see today, even in meetings, you just find people seated there on their phones. Yeah, you just see people going out and then finding themselves attached to their phones. Yeah. With this pressure of even trying to capture every moment, but then we are missing out on the actual moment.
Yeah, you're not. Man, okay, hey, Grace. And it's so true what he's saying. I mean, you go on a trip, instead of just savoring the moment, you're busy taking pictures and videos and all those things, so you don't get to man, it's like we're communicating but we're not communicating at the same time, despite all these avenues.
Right. And there is something that we need to understand about human needs, and one of those things is physical connections. They are very important, just like touch. Touch is so healing when people hug, when people are in the same closeness. We have a hormone that we call the love hormone, which is what a baby and a mother share. So when the mother is close to the baby, holds the baby, those hormones of feeling good, connected and belonging, those hormones are released. So the issue of loneliness goes away, because now I connect. Because when you think about loneliness, it's feeling alone in a world full of people. So what is happening with our Gen Zs is that because of the terrain where they are, their environment, where they are growing up, the environment, there is a lot of pseudo connections, which is now this gadget. So this gadget replaces me having to leave and go and meet with people, and we do activity. So what happens? We begin to go on social media and we watch things like now pornography. It becomes an issue because pornography is going to trigger dopamine, and dopamine, this pleasure and these feelings, the good feel hormones, they will be triggered the same way if we went and had and we went for a hike, we went for a bike ride with a group of friends, if we went and decided to go and volunteer in a school together, and we mentor young people, the same feeling of connectedness, dopamine and other good feel-good hormones, they are released. So the issue of loneliness is no longer going to be there, because this gadget doesn't bring touch, eye contact. It doesn't feel, the feeling of being close to someone is not there. So we are getting connected, but we are not connected. But this is a pseudo connection that feeds the brain, that part of the brain that is looking for high, but it's not sustainable because you're not creating real connections. So one of the challenges now for our young people is to be able to allow themselves, even within their social media groups, to allow themselves to create physical meetups, to create activities that they do together. One of the things we know about depression is that if you are not actively doing something, activities outside of your room, outside of your house, what happens is that you begin to shrink. Your brain begins to go into this stuck place, the place of helplessness and loneliness and sadness. But if you start going out into the sun, you start doing certain things, when you are out where there is fresh air, there is fresh oxygen, all these things, they act on the body, and you begin to feel better. Because we need to understand that our body is made up of chemicals, and if we are depriving ourselves those minerals and those chemicals, then the body is going to begin to shut down. So I'm on the phone, I don't sleep until 2 a.m. and then I wonder why I can't wake up and be motivated to move. And it's because I'm staying in the same place, thinking about the same things and regurgitating the same social media. I need to actually create other ways of doing things. Going out, especially I would really like to encourage the young people to begin to think, in our time, our connections were in the church, because that's the generation we grew up in.
Yeah.
So our parents were really big on going to church, and that was one of the social ways that we developed friendships.
Yeah.
And of course now school and stuff like that. So I don't like when I'm raising young children myself right now, and when I was looking for schools, I was looking for schools with a field.
Okay.
Because of the way I grew up.
Yeah.
I grew up that at 3 o'clock, class is done, we go to the field and we play and we have games and stuff like that. I remember us doing cross-country running, where you would run across the neighborhood, all of you. You know, so there were seasons of sports and stuff like that. I don't know how much our children who are growing up and going to, let's say, private schools where there is no field to have those kinds of activities. I don't know how many of them are exposed.
I mean, majority of the times, even at homes, we see, because I remember us when we were growing up, we used to be chapward. Like, you go to your neighbors, right? And then you come back at 8 p.m.
of being out.
Exactly. You know, but now it's different. Now every child is in their house on TV, watching cartoons or playing games and all those things. You know, they leave the house, and then come back. Like, there's no, you know, that go to your neighbor, play, and then come back. You're being chapward, yes, but at least those aspect of connection.
And we are all trying to protect our children from predators.
Because then people are becoming...
Because now us, our generation, because we never spoke about certain things, some of us parents, we had physical and sexual perpetration by people that were trusted within the neighborhood. And so now we are so protective of our children.
Of the children.
Because that was never talked about. It's not something we talk about. But our children are not aware that me as a parent, I'm refusing for you to go and for you to do and for you to be because I am trying to protect you from what happened to me. So I'm using my children as an extension of protecting me, my inner child, who was traumatized by whatever. So we do, and we are seeing even now in marriages, that's why people are living within the first sign of you're going to be abusive to me, I can't stay. And so we do need to, there is a lot of community healing that we need to do. Happen.
That's true, on everybody.
But the issue of loneliness among the Jay-Z's, I just want to throw that out, that from a mental health perspective, activity will help you, and intentional activity. So if you are at home and you have been sitting for 2 or 3 hours, please get out, go for a bike ride, go out and breathe some fresh air. Dancing is one of the things that can create a lot of good feelings, and you know, making sure that you are learning new things. If you like food, cook. Learn, use YouTube to create.
There's a lot of information there.
So there is so much we can do if we can be more creative than we are.
Absolutely. All right. And I think before we came on set, someone actually said the whole question about freedom. And if this also contributes to mental health issues amongst the Gen Zs, because like we said, they're very, very open-minded, that sometimes it's very scary, right? And then there's a lot of freedom around, and especially with the Gen Zs. So, you know, what we're saying, could this also, you know, be a contributor to mental health issues? And I think I'd want to hear that from Alex and Charlotte. But at the same time, then knowing this and knowing what is happening around you and experiencing some of these things, what do you think, what will it take for you to have like a thriving environment where you're confident, you are not afraid to go after your dreams, but at the same time also feel loved, feel appreciated, feel, you know, supported in all this ways, so that again we bring down the numbers of mental health issues amongst the Gen Zs. Charlotte, you want to start?
Well, first off, don't contain yourself. Like, if you know I am good at ABCD, then in as much as it is easier said than done, and I feel like we as Gen Z, some of you might not like what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it either way. Talk about it, because it gets to a point, it is so overwhelming, and you've been bottling up so much, you've been alone for so long, and you don't know how to let someone be there for you, because you've been there for yourself for so long.
Yeah.
So that bottling up and keeping to yourself, it's a very scary environment to be in, because it gets to a point where I have been there for myself. What do I need other people for?
Yeah.
And like people say, no man is an island, but it gets to a point where like, okay, but if I was an island, I would thrive by myself. And we need to talk about it. You don't have to talk to your parent, you don't have to talk to a therapist or whoever, but find someone or
that you can trust.
Exactly, someone that you can trust. And they don't have, sometimes we don't need you to tell us something. We just need you to listen.
Yeah.
Just listen to me. And most of us, most of Gen Zs have grown up with so much trauma, and they go to their parents about it, and the first thing the parent says, but you have a roof over your head. How can you be depressed? Have you ever slept hungry? You go to one of the best schools. You see?
You should be grateful.
I mean, you have the latest phone, you have an iPad, you have an ABCD. Is it money that you want? It is not money I want. Listen to what I have to say and try put yourself in my shoes. If you grew up in the kind of environment you have brought me up in, how would you react to it? And it's not that I'm depressed because I wish we had a bigger house or my bed is too small. No, it is, I am not doing well in school. Have you followed up on that?
Yeah,
exactly.
I see that.
I've lost too much weight in like 3 months. Have you noticed that? I was in a relationship with so and so. Nowadays, you don't hear me talking about them. Have you asked about that? You don't know what happened in my life for me to be the person that you're facing right now. And most parents don't realize that at some point, this is not the child, this is not your child anymore.
All right.
Because so much has happened.
And you missed out on.
Exactly, you missed out on that. And now when you want to catch up, it's like,
where do you start from?
Yeah, it's too late for that. So we need to open up to people and accept to be helped.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Thanks, Charlotte. All right, what would you say? And especially when you're really emphasizing on the pressure. The pressure is just too much. What would you say? What would be sort of like a better world for you to thrive in as a Gen Z?
I think a better world for me to thrive in would be a world in which more and more parents come out and talk about the mental issues that they had when they were younger and their identity issues at the time they were growing up. If this conversation was more open to the point where there's less shame when I'm coming to my parents, telling them about what happened in school, telling them about what happened in a relationship I got into, it would be a safer environment for me to thrive in, rather than I feel like I'll be beaten because
when you mentioned
why you
told you're not
associating yourself with those people,
you
know, and things like that.
Okay, I like that. And to your fellow Gen Zs, and I mean, I'll come back to you, Charlotte, for that. I know Jack says like you need to get out of the studio, but again, to your fellow Gen Zs, very quickly, and this is about just that pressure to be the best at everything, right? That then again creates like a facade, you know, in terms of what you see. What would you say?
I'd say just pick what you love and just one step at a time.
One step at a time.
Yeah,
I like
because
that.
We get so overwhelmed with thinking about how far you have to reach and how much you have to do that sometimes you find yourself paralyzed in anxiety and depression, trying to be that one person that you saw. Instead of just taking that one step and then taking that another step.
I like that. And Charlotte said, find your space and just stick to that one, right? And don't really focus on what everybody else is doing, because again, you'll be depressed, you know, asking yourself, what am I doing with my life? All right, so Chris, to just tie everything up. And I want you to specifically speak to the parents who, again, remember we were talking about there's a bit of a disconnect because this is a totally different generation that is raising a totally different generation. So understanding one another becomes a bit of an issue. They had their own traumas. They're trying to heal from their traumas based on how they are parenting, you know, this Gen Z, and the Gen Zs feel, you're choking me, you are suffocating me, let me be, right? just speak to the parents in terms of then how do they parent Gen Zs and allow them to thrive and to grow, but again feel safe.
Basically, I will say this: you have to choose as a parent whether you want to be right or whether you want to be relevant. Or whether you want to be happy as a parent.
Yes.
So as we are working with our young people, we need to understand that they are living in the information age. And we were not given information ourselves. Our parents didn't sit with us. How are you feeling? There are some people who had the privilege of doing that. But most of us, children are to be seen and not to be heard. We are past that now. Because one of the things that we have done, because of the way that we were raised, as parents who are raising the generation now, we decided we are going to give our children better.
The best. Yeah.
But what we didn't realize that our children now, they don't need, because we have provided houses and money and comfortable basic needs. Their basic needs are met. Their next level of human needs is connection. It is social connection and feelings of goodness and emotional safety. That's what they are looking for. They are looking for emotional richness, emotional wealth. And that is what their basic need is. So as a parent, you're listening to me, you're listening to these two lovely young people who have actually gone through their time of down and then now they are thriving. You need to understand, in order for you to really get into their world, you've got to be curious and interested and stop that whole thing we were taught by our own parents. Just be shut up and go to school and allow yourself to be able to get into their lives. Because that's what you have created for them. You have created for them to speak up. You have created for them to have everything and to be comfortable. And now their next level of needs is emotional. And that is what Charlotte Oyi was saying. So don't worry, in my house I call all the names and then my son says, so which one of us were you referring to? So I've become like my own mother. But you know, I just want to say, your parents who are raising Gen Zs, remember their basic need is emotional connection.
I like that. Very profound. Thank you so much, Grace Kariuki, marriage and family therapist, Alex Gishingiri Mwai, as well as Charlotte Wangoi Okoi. You said I'm Koi, by the way. Thank you so much for coming by today. Very insightful conversation, you know, that we've had. I've learned a lot, and I like the fact that both of you are not afraid to say, listen, just listen to us. That's all that we need. So Gen Zs want to be heard, all right? So for the parents and everybody around them, please listen, all right? Just please listen. Well, that marks it, you know, the end of the conversation today. Thank you so much for staying with us. I hope that you've learned a lot from the conversation. I'll see you tomorrow morning, same time, same place, right here on Your World. But until then, stay safe and God bless. Let's communicate, all right? Goodbye for now.